Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Last year, Bezier Games came out with a series of games called Silver. First one was called Silver and it had Amulet. Second one was Silver Bullet. This one coming out now is Silver Coin. Now these are card games that can be played standalone on their own or mixed together to give you tons of variability. So I'm going to show you how this one's played and I'll see you on the other side. Silver Coin is a card game where each player is going to have a village of cards, and these cards are going to have different numbers, which represents the amount of werewolves in your village, and you're trying to have the least amount of werewolves in your village at the end of the round. The game is played over 4 rounds. Each round, each player is going to start with 5 cards face down in their village. Now, each player is going to be able to secretly look at 2 of their 5 cards, and they're going to be remembering which cards those are. For example, here I have a 2, which is the Curator, and a 13, which is the Wolfman. Now, we know that adding these together is your total werewolves, and you're trying to have the lowest. So this is not a very good card to have by face value, and this one is actually really good to have. Now, different cards have different abilities, and they come into effect at different times that I'll go over in just a moment. On most turns, you're going to be taking a card from the top of the deck and looking at it and deciding what to do with it, or taking this open face-up card that you can see and exchanging it for one in your village. Now this one has like a medium value, so I'm not really that excited about that one, but let's say I'll take this one. I would secretly look at this, no one else would be able to see it. It's like, oh, it's a 1, that's great. No one else knows what this is. And because I got it face down, I could exchange it face down with anything in my village. Now, if you remember, this card was high for ours that we knew from the beginning of the round, so we will exchange it. We'll put this one in the discard pile, and the one that we took that we know is a 1 is right here face down, and we're going to want to remember that that is a 1. So we've just basically lost 12 werewolves, 13 minus 1, so that's great. We lowered our score, which is what you're trying to do. Now, sometimes when players take a card off the top of the deck, they exchange it with one in their village that they haven't seen. Sometimes what they discard, they don't know what it is, and it could be a present for somebody else. The next player gets a really good card. Oops. And at that point, you'll say thank you, because one of the actions you can take on your turn is taking a card from the discard pile and swapping it with one of the ones in your own village. Now this card that comes up gets face up. Oh great, I got rid of a 5 and now I have a 0. Great move. Another thing you could do on your turn, if you draw a card from the top, is if it has this icon, which are basically the higher numbered cards, you can discard it to take this ability. This shows if you discard this card, you can do this. So I can just draw this card, go, you know what, I don't want to add it to my village, it's kind of a high number. I'll place it here, and I get to view all cards in one village. So if I forgot mine, I can look at mine, or if I want to see what other people have, I can look at what they have secretly and then put them back. Well, let's say it's another player's turn. They've exchanged something in their village and they got rid of a 10, which is probably good for them. Now we're going to take this card and we're going to add it to our village, but why would we take such a high card? Because I've learned through the game that this card here is a 10. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to exchange it with this one, which, that's a 7, not too bad, and I put it here. Why did I do that? Because on a future turn, let's say this card's here, and I take it. What I can do is take it, and I can exchange multiple cards, hoping that they're the same value. So I'll flip these over. If they are, which they are here, I can actually get rid of both of these, or all of them if there's more than 2, and replace one of those cards with this one. So I just got rid of 20 points and gained 4, so that's like a 16-point swing, which is great for us. Now the lower cards have these abilities, which means if they're face up, they trigger. So this says when face up, I can use the discard ability of the top card of the discard pile as your turn. Or this one says when face up, turn this card face down and take an additional turn. So some of these face up abilities are pretty cool. This one happens at the end of the game, which I'll show you in just a moment. If you think you have the lowest amount of werewolves in your village, you can, on your turn, just say, I'm calling a vote. Everyone else gets one more turn to reduce the werewolves in their village. Then everyone is going to reveal their entire village. Now this is a special card. It says if it's face up during scoring, there's only 2 of these in the deck, you can give a card to an opponent. So you can give this away. Then once it's given away, everyone just flips up and reveals. And we have a total of 5. If this was the lowest and I called the vote, I'll get this awesome silver coin. In the next round, I can flip it to flip a card in my village or anybody else's village. Also, if you were the one to call for the vote and your sum is equal to or lower than everybody else's, you score 0 points, which is great because you're trying to have the least amount of points. However, if you weren't the lowest or tied for the lowest, you'd add all this up, which is 5, and then you'd add 10 for being the one that called the vote, so I'd have 15 points. Not so great. And if you weren't someone that called for the vote, you simply just add up all your cards and that's your score. The game comes with a score pad. You're going to keep track of the players, and basically the 4 rounds of play, because after each round you're going to shuffle up and just start over again. You play 4 rounds. Whoever has the smallest total at the end is the winner. Did want to show you a couple other cards. This Wolfman has a cool ability when face up at scoring. If the sum of all your other cards is 13 or less, you score 0 points. But the cool thing is with the regifter, if you have this card, you can give this to someone else that you know has a Wolfman. You can cause them to actually score a lot of points instead of getting 0. It's a cool little trick there. And I'll just show you some of the other abilities. The Golem is cool. You exchange the top card of the discard pile with one village card. Could be yours, could be someone else's. So you could basically be helping yourself or hurting someone else. The Village Idiot basically has everyone move a card from your village to its neighbor, all in the same direction. The Psychic allows you to view any 3 cards, which is some of yours, some of somebody else's, doesn't matter. This one face up, you turn this card face down and turn over one other card. So you can get one face up that has an ability that you want. So there's a lot of combo building as well with some of these cards. But that's pretty much it. Whoever has the lowest points at the end of the 4 rounds is the winner. All right, well, there's Silver Coin. Much like the other games in this series, wonderful art. I love the art style in these games, and they're just fun. I mean, even just the Golem itself, you know, and getting ready for the shower and stuff like that. It's just so cute. So I love the way that the game looks. It really does draw you into the game. The game has simple rules, which I like. It's pretty streamlined. I mean, you're basically drawing a card and either discarding it for an ability or playing it in your village, either face up, face down, depending on where you get it from. And you're trying to have the lowest numbers, but there's a lot of depth as to what you're trying to do, what you know, what you're trying to learn, what you need to remember, what abilities you want to use, things like that. This essentially, I like that it's a gamer. I like it when games come out and they have some sort of playing on some older games, you know, like back a few years ago, Game of 49 came out, and it's like Connect 4 with a gamer version and a little twist. You know, some games are taking different older games, like Cartagena is basically like gamer Candyland, you know? So I like older style games that are being brought to modern and adding some, you know, some depth to them. And this does that. I used to play an old card game called Golf, where you'd have 4 cards face down and you're just trying to get the lowest of those 4. This uses that sort of as like the baseline, but then builds a lot on top of it. Bezier also came out with a game called Cabo, which was a little bit more than Golf. It had like 3 cards or so that had like special abilities, but it was still very much like mass market. And so this, again, built upon that to give it more of a gamer version where there's a lot more going on. And I like when you take things that are somewhat familiar and then add some more gameriness to it. In this, you're trying to find the right time to call a vote. Now, there's types of games out there I like called Press Your Luck games, where you're trying to go as far as you can without busting. Well, this is like Press Your Luck in reverse, because instead of like pressing, and maybe busting, you have to go like all in and be like, I think I have the lowest. And it is sort of pressing your luck, but it's almost like you have to go all in or nothing. And I like that aspect of this where it gives you some tension of, do I have the lowest? Should I call? If I do and I'm the lowest, and I'll get the coin, really cool. If I don't, then I gotta, you know, add 10 points, stuff like that. So I like it has that sort of like tension of who's gonna call the vote and when. When someone calls it, it just heightens up the tension around the table. I like that you're trying to collect sets of matching cards to get rid of them. And it's a really good strategy to get rid of high numbered cards. You know, someone's like, oh good, I'm gonna grab this 2, I'm gonna put it in there, I'm gonna discard a 10. And you're like, oh, I've got another 10, I'm gonna take this. But now everybody else knows that you probably have another 10, at least one, in your village, and they're gonna be trying to figure it out, possibly even getting rid of it so that you're gonna get stuck with the one that you now have, and you're not gonna be able to get rid of those cards, things like that. But I like that you're trying to set, collect, and get rid of a lot of the numbers of the same types, but even getting the higher number of cards is a good strategy there. The game has exciting reveals at the end of the round where you're trying to figure out where everyone's at, you know, the tension of who voted, things like that. So it has those. And of course, the abilities are cool, like, you know, the Golem where you get to, you know, help yourself or hurt somebody else. The Wolfman's really cool. You think you have less than 13. You think you're going to get, you know, 0, which is kind of cool. But then using the regifter, you can kind of like send a Wolfman you have over to someone else that already has a Wolfman, and then it kind of screws them all the way up. The regifter's a cool idea. So the abilities are really cool and unique. And they definitely feel different from the ones in the other games. And I didn't show it in the overview, but the way you mix this in with other ones is you basically, when you're playing the game, you take a certain numbered ability, you take all those cards out, you put in all the cards of another set that has that number on it, and you're changing the abilities that are in the game. And so you can have a lot of like basically unlimited amount of replayability by the different combinations of games that you can make with the different sets, but they're all fine on their own as well. On the negative side, the game does have a pretty heavy memory element. You are trying to remember what you've seen on other players, what you have. You're not really allowed to look after you've seen things. So memory games are not for everyone. So beware that this does have that memory element. But it's just a matter of, you know, looking at things and just remember where they are. It is a card game, so sometimes you're going to look for a card, you're going to draw something off, you're going to get something. Most of the time you can use it. You know, you've got randomness in the game, and you might not be getting a card that's very beneficial to you. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's a card game, so if you like games that don't have any randomness, then this may be not the game for you. But if you're okay with just the randomness of cards and things like that, I think you'll enjoy it. So that's what I think about Silver Coin. It's coming out right about now, the beginning of March here. I think March 10th-ish. Here. And again, either by itself or mix it with others, and that is Silver Coin by Bezier Games. Did you miss the Game Topper 2.0 Kickstarter? Have no fear, it's not too late to get in on the ultimate gaming accessory. Convert your table into a high-quality gaming table with a fully portable Game Topper system and take advantage of some of the best 3mm premium gaming mats in the industry. New styles, new sizes, and new accessories can be yours. Upgrade every game you play by late backing now at GameToppersLLC.com.